We're with Demon basketball coach Mike McConaughey, whose team has completed the regular season with a 21-8 record and now heads into the Southland Conference tournament all the way to the semifinals, having earned a double bye. And they'll play Friday night at 7:30 against an opponent that we're not sure who it'll be yet. It'll be either Oral Roberts, Sam Houston State, or Central Arkansas. But first, let's look back on the past week, Coach, and your team won 2 home games, got to 20 wins, got to 21 wins. Also a milestone for yourself in the career coaching records. Let's just talk about how the team performed this past week. What were your impressions of your basketball team?
I think that we're continuing to improve and getting better. I mean, we played at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. By looking at their record, people would say, well, they're not very good, but they're very, very good and very well coached by Willis Wilson. Do a nice job of staying within what they're trying to do. Their pieces are remarkable. Their little point guard, Jonathan Jordan, is a great player. They've got just some great pieces, and we're able to beat them, and I felt like that they're playing their best basketball of the year, and we were able to hold home court there to be able to win a game, to move to, I believe it was 12-1 at home. Then Sam Houston State comes in here on Saturday, needing to win to improve their seed, to be the best place they possibly could be. And they played a remarkable game. They shot the ball from the perimeter extremely well, and they're a streaky three-point shooting team. If they are making them, you got some real problems. And started off slow, but then after we got up 10-0, and sometimes that's the worst thing that can happen, because we struggled a little bit offensively through the middle of the game, but in the end I felt like that our depth and our defense really turned up and really played hard all game. We out-rebounded them, didn't have the steals that we normally have. We had a lot more turnovers than we normally have, but a lot of that had to do with the physical nature of the game and the style of game that they play. And we were able to win, and that was a remarkable day. The whole day had a festive atmosphere that probably has been unmarked in Prather Coliseum because of the fact you had so many players. My wife Connie said to me, you know, you had senior day, you had 100-year celebration, you had all the peers or the greatest players that ever played here there. Imagine the pressure that put our team under to perform at a high level. Now, we didn't talk about that, but that was something that after I got through and I got home that night after a wonderful banquet, and we celebrated players from the past, captains from the past, it dawned on me, it's been a long day. And I mean, fortunately, we were able to get that win as well, and did a wonderful job.
Well, Shamir Davis had kind of the same comments to me yesterday, and talked about how they felt like there was no way they were going to lose Saturday because of the former players being there, because it was senior day, and because it was a milestone for you. 573 career wins, passing the great Fred Hobdy for the #1 position among men's collegiate basketball coaches in the state of Louisiana history. Your team was very, very thrilled that they were a part of this. And I know you've been asked time and again, what does it mean to you? Now you've had a couple days to reflect on it and let it soak in, take all the pats on the back. Is there a way to sum it up?
Well, I did graduate in 573. But I guess the best way to sum it up is kind of what I've been saying. I mean, I'm no different today than I was the other day, but I am blessed to have been with some wonderful players and wonderful staff that have allowed me to be able to, if you want to say, put my stamp or my imprint on those individuals along the way. As I got a text from one of my former players that played for me at Bipsy today, caring about kids is as much about coaching. And I think that that's the thing that comes across the biggest to me. Is I had 5 or 6 or 7 of my former players from Bipsy in the stands. They were all a part of that. Then you had so many players that played for us here since I've been here, or former Demon players, and they all felt like they were a part of that, even if they didn't play for Mike McConaughey and the staff at Northwestern. They played at Northwestern, and that's a Northwestern record. It's as much about that as anything. So I'm just very blessed, and like I've said before, God's placed a lot of people in my path, and I've been blessed by them, and I just hope that we can continue to do the best we can to serve Him.
Well, going on the word continue, we continue this week into postseason play now. Another thing Shamir said yesterday, we're 0-0. Nothing we've done to this point really matters. Now we start all over. And you've got a game Friday night that hopefully gives you the opportunity to advance to Saturday night. Talk about tournament play and what it means to this basketball team.
You know, my dad was a coach for a long time, and my dad said when you're talking about tournaments, you know, who you draw, this, that, and other, whoever you draws is the toughest opponent because that's the next opponent. And we've got a tough road to hoe. But on the flip side of that, I think that we're a team that creates problems for other people as well. When you look at Oral Roberts, you look at Stephen F., pardon me, back up. When you look at Oral Roberts and you look at Sam Houston, you look at UCA, all of those teams have different matchups, pose different matchups for us. And we just have to adjust to whatever the matchup is. But the great thing is we've put ourselves and played ourselves in a position to where we did get the double bye. Some people look at it maybe not the most positive thing. I almost could look at that from that angle because other people we're sitting at home while others are playing. But the reality at this time of the year, it lets Chucky get a little healthier. It lets us get a little rest under our belt before we move into it. Waiting on Daquan Hicks to see where he stands. So it gives us a little bit more time. And time is definitely something we need at this time of the year.
Well, Chucky Gary Robertson came off 2 games with an ankle injury. And you say he needs to get a little healthier. Well, he had 11 points on Saturday.
We won by 11. He got 11. He did a great job, hit 2 threes in the early portion of the game, had a big bucket in the second half when they were making a little run at us, running the floor down the lane, caught it and spun, and was able to bank it in off the front of the glass. It was one of those old front-end banks instead of side banks. Great shot. Did a great job. He's our glue guy. And he really makes a difference. He's got a great attitude. He competes hard. And he's a perfect example of a guy being at a place that he should be at. When we signed Chucky, he's a Natchitoches native. He played at Natchitoches Central for Micah Coleman, a former Northwestern assistant here, a former graduate of Northwestern State University. And he was a guy that needed to be here, and we're just thankful that he was because it just brings the community together when you have a chance for that. We're not going to always be able to take every Northwest Natchitoches native we want, but when we get an opportunity, we definitely want to do that.
All right, let's look to the Southland Conference Tournament in terms of your team's approach and the success you've had. You're 14-7 in Southland Conference Tournament games. You've been to 6 tournament championship games. Obviously, the system works. Why is that?
Well, I think that the longer the year goes on, the tougher it is on teams. And the opportunity to play a lot of people, if you looked at our last stat line, for instance, I believe 25 minutes was the most anyone played, 25, 24, 23. It just keeps people fresher. Sam Houston, for instance, in that game, didn't make their shots early through the middle portion of the game until the last 4 minutes. They were making their shots, but the last 4 minutes they didn't make their shots. Does that have something to do with us constantly rotating people? I hope that it does, and that's what we believe in. That's why we continue. We always say we're going to play as hard as we can in that last 4 minutes. Our system, the way we play, hopefully weighs in on the results at the end of the game.
And that's where the double bye comes in. Whomever you play will have played the previous night. And so you've got that advantage. It could be a team that's played the 2 previous nights. And clearly you would think that the depth of your team and the system and the fresh legs gives a benefit.
Hopeful of that. That's very much so. Could be very beneficial. The key to any tournament game is to win the first one. You got to win the first one because after the first one, then all the factors start coming in together, and our system really becomes a major deal after the first day. And so that's, we've been very close the last 2 years, and it's time to kick the door down and get on through the door and get to that final championship game.
Okay, just overall, the standings say there are 3 teams that are very, very good and some other teams that are capable. How wide open is this tournament?
I think it's wide open. I think anytime you play, Dave Simmons at McNeese State, great tournament coach. I mean, does a phenomenal job. UCA, phenomenal talent. It's one of the scariest teams in the league. Sam Houston's going to guard you and make it as difficult as possible. Nichols plays a style that creates a problem for everybody. Southeastern plays a very slow style. Everybody's different. Oral Roberts is so talented. Their team that any moment could go on, and then Northwestern Stephen F. on this year, pretty much what has happened speaks for itself there. So I think it's wide open.
We're here with Lady Demon basketball coach, Brooke Storr. Brooke, we just found out today that you have a Freshman of the Year on your team. So just talk about Janelle Perez and her maturation process this season.
Well, I think number one, it's great recognition for our program, and anytime you can have a postseason award winner, I think it's a big deal for your program because it's showing that you've had some success, and obviously as a team, and then for Janelle individually. She's done a great job. You know, she came in late. We got here in April and signed her in May, and just had watched her compete in high school, knew that she was a competitor, just didn't know how well that would and how quickly that would translate on the Division I level. And she's just been tremendous. She comes to work every single day, and just, you know what you're always going to get from her. She's going to compete her heart out and will fight till the last minute. Obviously, she's not the biggest person on the floor, but I think it goes back to what's inside of her and the mentality that she has and the approach that she takes on and off the court each day.
You go to the Southland Conference Tournament, and you open up Wednesday at 11 o'clock. You've beaten 4 of the top 5 teams in the conference. So just talk about what that confidence from beating, you know you can beat them, what does that do going into it?
Well, I think number one, it gives our players a sense of knowing what we can accomplish and what we can do when we play a certain way. And I think that that's the thing as a staff we've tried to get across to them as we met with them yesterday and watched film and talked through some things is when we compete with everything we have and we execute on both ends of the floor and play as a solid unit, we can do some big things. And I'm really excited for the fact that they've experienced that, and it's not something that we're just telling them they're capable of doing. It's one thing for us to talk about it, but them actually doing it and carrying it out, I think just is going to be really beneficial for them as we tip off on Wednesday.
You tip off against McNeese, the number 5 seed. You've beat them once and you've lost to them once. So just talk about the series and what you expect from them on Wednesday.
Well, I mean, and I've said it all year long, they're the 2-time defending champs, and they'll be that until someone knocks them off. And hopefully that'll be us on Wednesday. But they've got a very experienced backcourt with Caitlin and Ashlyn Baggett. And I think postseason play is dominated by guards, and good guard play wins in March. And they obviously have good guard play, not only good guard play, but very experienced guard play. And so I think that, they're going to be the champs until someone beats them. And we know what we have to do. We feel like we've got to do a really, really good job of knowing where those two are at all times. But they also have some other players on the court that know their roles. And when Ashley and Caitlin create for them, they do a really good job of finishing as well. And we know they'll be ready to play. They shot extremely well when we played the second time down at McNeese, and it wasn't our best game, and we know what we need to fix and the adjustments we need to make, and now it's just a matter of going out and doing it. I think our players understand that everybody's 0-0 at this point in the season, and it comes down to who's going to go out and execute and play hard, play smart, and play together.
I want to talk specifically about Jasmine Upchurch. She said farewell to Prather Coliseum. But she averages 21.5 points in this series. So how key is it for her to have a good game?
Well, I think it's very, very big. I think when you look at our game against Sam Houston on Saturday, everything started with Jasmine's energy and her attack mentality. I was so proud that we could send her out of Prather, the right way. And she was a huge part of that because of the way she started the game. I think it was about 3 minutes in, we were in that stretch where we didn't have a media timeout or a dead ball till like 12:08. And they had played almost 8 minutes without a stoppage in play. And for her to do that, that's very, very big. But I knew we were okay when about the 3rd or 4th minute into the game, she dove on the floor for a loose ball, tipped it out. We ended up getting a good shot, missing it. Ariane tips it out for another offensive board, and her energy really created that possession. We ended up making a 3. But I thought Jasmine's effort and energy was really, really big. If she brings that on Wednesday, I really like what this team is capable of doing.
All right, thank you, Coach.